Embattled power utility Eskom announced yesterday that it had appointed Dan Marokane as its new Group Chief Executive Officer. He replaces Andre de Ruyter, who resigned nearly a year ago following a tumultuous tenure. Marokane returns to the SOE after previously working as a senior manager in various roles from 2010 to 2015, including as head of Group Capital. He becomes the 12th CEO and takes over from Calib Cassim, who held the position in the interim. Marokane is expected to take up the new position no later than the 31st of March 2024. So, how big is the task that awaits him, and what are his odds at the extremely turbulent entity? Let's try and get some of those answers from OUTA's Parliamentary and Energy Advisor Liz McDaid, who joins us now live. A very good morning to you, Liz. Thank you so much for your time. A mammoth task lies ahead for Dan Marokane. Can he turn the tables and get the lights on permanently? What's your view?
So, good morning, Juan, to your viewers. I think this, from his history, I think he's already had some turbulent times at Eskom. He was suspended in what looks like some manipulation and interference in 2015. So, he's coming back as someone who's already gone through a little bit of the bruising. So I don't think he's coming in naive. Whether he can stick it out, of course, I'm not a betting person, but I think, probably the betting rooms will have the odds going. I mean, I think he's facing a huge uphill battle. I think recently what we've seen is a lot of call-outs from various bodies talking about the corruption that continues, that hasn't been addressed. We are still limping between stage 2 and stage 6 load shedding on any given day. And it's very clear that unless we have more generation brought on board, we are going to continue to struggle. And it's an aging fleet, and it's not rocket science to say that you can't keep carrying on driving, like, for example, 1940s or 1950s cars on the road. You have to get new ones. So I think that's part of his problem. He was in charge of Madupe and Kusile, so he knows about big projects. Whether he can push through, I mean, one of his tasks is to get the transmission grid extended. Yeah. So that one can start bringing more renewables up from the Northern Cape. But it's a really tough job.
Yeah. You make mention of corruption. Do you think that because he was suspended from Eskom during the state capture years, when he took on an ethical stand against rampant fraud and corruption, does that at all inspire some confidence on the caliber of leader he is?
Well, he's not coming in thinking it's all sunshine. And I think he's probably also learned, maybe, hopefully, skills on how to deal with those kind of manipulations. So, I think the big question is, what is the chair of the board? How is the board? Are they going to back him? I think that was part of the problems with the previous CEO. And also, next year, is elections year. It's a shuffling of cabinets. It normally happens. We see ideas of the current Minister of Minerals and Energy taking over Eskom, and how will that play out? If we have a different scenario, a different way of operating, and a new political head, this might also put extra pressure on a new CEO in Eskom. At least they said the 31st of March and not the 1st of April. So yeah. Maybe it's a good sign.
What about political interference? I mean, that in itself has been cited as an area of concern amongst the SOEs and leadership. What sort of approach do you think is needed here to support Marokane? Like, what sort of entities? I mean, surely it needs to be a collaborative effort.
So this is what, from the outside, it seems is missing. You don't have local government ministers that we see actually doing something about the fact that the municipalities owe Eskom money, the debt. What is actually happening? A lot of squeaking about it, but we don't see action. The corruption means the Minister of Police, the Minister of Justice, they need to be in the room and actually saying what are they going to do to address it. And without all of those players really getting together and actually working on the problem, I think it's going to be a really uphill battle. But if everybody can come around a new CEO, maybe he's a new breath of fresh air and encourages and is able to move within that political realm, then good. But he can't get away from the politics of it, because we all scream and shout when the lights go off, and the politicians then scream and shout at Eskom. So, and then start, I guess, making suggestions to Eskom about how they could fix it in their own views, and don't let the technocrats get on with the job.
With Eskom having been plagued with so many leadership challenges, and being without a permanent CEO since Andre de Ruyter's exit in February, many have wondered why it's taken Eskom so long to fill this vacancy. What type of considerations you think had to be made behind the scenes?
I would guess they'd have to find someone who's prepared to step into the shoes. I mean, if we remember, the previous CEO got poison in his coffee. So probably not an incentive for anyone else to step up. And maybe because this is not a man who is thinking that it's an easy job and who has previous experience with these kind of machinations, maybe he is the right person for the job. But time will tell. We can only know once he's there and see what he comes up with.
And expectations, what do you think would be realistic to expect of him, given perhaps long and short-term goals that need to be met?
He's got experience in Eskom, so I would expect that at least he could get operations going. And so we should be able to see more maintenance, and he's dependent, unfortunately, on the energy minister for new generation. But unless that new generation comes in, he is going to be, in my view, in a no-win situation, no matter what he does.
So we know that the last at least 6 CEOs didn't quite make it to the end. I mean, some barely able to make it to the end of a year or even 3 years. What will it take in terms of characteristics to steer the ship? And really, I mean, you make mention of him having worked at Eskom before and taken on several roles. But, of course, it will need some sort of a characteristic and steering that will see him stay on the job, stay the course, and ensure that the lights are on.
I think, I mean, he must know also, between 2015 and 2023, I don't think Eskom's improved. So, I mean, culture-wise, inside the amount of mismanagement, the amount of corruption, I don't think we've moved forward, in my view. So, it is a huge task. I assume that his first step will be to bring a team in that he can trust, and that are competent to do what he feels. But I guess he's going to have to spend some time trying to understand what is the Eskom of 2023 compared to what is the Eskom of 2015 that he left. And, you know, I think if we're too quick to judge, then, I don't think we're going to have to give him time, and that's going to be a really tough one politically, because we are going into an election. The politicians will want to show that the lights can stay on, so he will be under incredible pressure from the day he starts, and if he buckles to that pressure, then all we'll do is run the diesel peakers into the ground. And in the middle of winter, we will have probably I don't know, whatever the next 10 stages are.
Yeah.
So, and then he'll probably resign because he'll be fed up. So, if he can withstand the political pressure in what is a really, really hot year, then I think we've got a good guy who can go forward. He's got a little bit of experience in that when he was there before. But I think it's a really, really tough job right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Political pressure, especially with the hot year of 2024 being election time.
Yeah.
And, of course, he will need to have some sort of relationship, though, with the Minister of Energy as well as the Minister of Electricity. What kind of relationship should that be, of course, together with the board, in ensuring that, the ultimate goal is to get the lights going and stop load shedding?
Well, I think, what has been a problem for Eskom in the past is a rather fractious relationship between the Minister of Public Enterprises and the Minister of Minerals and Energy. Next year, we don't know who those will be. We don't know if we will still have a Minister of Electricity and a Minister of Energy, which, in my view, is, critical. It looks like we won't necessarily have a Minister of Public Enterprises, but, the board is going to have to hold that space. So he's going to need a board that backs him through thick and thin, and they're going to have to together stand to withstand the political pressure, which is a complete unknown going into 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. That was OUTA's Parliamentary and Energy Advisor, Liz McDaid, of course, giving some reaction there to Dan Marokane being appointed the new CEO of Eskom.